Rome had always known its seasons: wellspring for festivals, summer for wars, autumn for gathering harvests. But that winter resembled no winter before it. A brutal cold slipped down from the north, sealing roads, freezing rivers, and trapping armies in their tents, waiting for warmth that refused to come. In the markets, bread became more precious than gold. In the palaces, torches died one after another, as if the city that once ruled the world had begun to lose its heat slowly, steadily. It was a long winter, the winter in which the empire grew cold. Night fell over Rome slowly that year, not as it usually fell, closing the curtain on a day filled with voices, carts, and merchants, but as a heavy shadow crawling across walls that knew warmth would not return soon. The few fires flickering in the squares shivered under the cold wind from the north. People gathered around them, hands trembling, eyes following the sparks as if they were the last stars of winter. The city that had once been the center of the world felt its heartbeat slowing. Streets once filled with the whistles of guards and the clatter of horses now stood silent. In the markets, merchants hid what little grain they had left. In homes, old hearths were lit, begging for firewood that had long vanished. Even the Tiber, the river of life, sounded faint, running like the breath of a sick man no one bothered to listen to anymore. Famine peeked from dark corners. Cold crept through cracks into tired chests. No one spoke of glory or empire, only of a warm day or a loaf of bread divided between neighbors. In a distant palace on a hill, a scribe wrote by the dim light of a failing candle, "Even mighty Rome fears winter." One sentence that seemed to summarize an entire age in which warmth left the empire the way birds leave their nests at the first storm. Clouds thickened, the moon slipped through them, lighting statues of emperors whose shine had long faded. They seemed to gaze in confusion upon a city that no longer recognized itself. Rome, the city that built the world with stone, now sat shivering upon those same stones. It was only the first chapter sign of the long cold to come, the era later known as the Empire, Essie last winter. But the cold did not only grip the stones of the city, yet gripped its people. Families huddled together in small rooms, sharing blankets, patched more times than they could remember. Mothers told their children that warmth would return soon, even though they knew that the sky above Rome had forgotten what sunlight looked like. Old men whispered to one another that they had seen strange winters, but never one that seemed to swallow the empire whose travelers stopped arriving. Caravans that once crossed continents vanished into the storm of snow and silence. No letters came from the front line. No messengers rode through the frozen gates. Rome felt alone for the first time in centuries, cut off from the provinces it once commanded, like a king sitting on a throne that no longer recognizes him. In the Senate, men, wrapped in heavy cloaks, argued under their breath. Their voices, once thunderous, cracked with fear. Some claimed this winter was punishment from the gods. Others insisted it was a passing curse of nature. But between the marble pillars and dying torches, one truth settled like the frost. The empire was no longer invincible. And in this silence, in this cold, a strange thing happened. Rome began to listen. It listened to footsteps echoing in empty streets. It listened to the wind carving its name through broken roofs. It listened to its own heartbeat, slowing with each passing night. Beyond the walls, deep in the frozen countryside, farmers abandoned their lands. The soil had turned to stone. Livestock lay stiff and lifeless beside barns they once filled with sound. Wolves descended from the mountains, their hunger driving them closer to villages that could no longer defend themselves. And yet, in the midst of this deathly stillness, scattered fires continued to burn. Small, stubborn flames lit by hands that refused to surrender. A baker who stayed open even with only crumbs to sell. A soldier who stood guard at an empty gate because honor mattered more than warmth. A group of children laughing around a single piece of burning wood, pretending it was the sun. Hope lingered, not loud or triumphant, but quiet and tired, like a final whisper, refusing to die.